Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about wordiness and redundancy. Now, redundancy is the repetition of ideas over and over and over again within a sentence or a paragraph or even an entire piece of writing when that repetition isn't meaningful and it feels really unnecessary. So when someone sounds like they are just repeating themselves over and over, that is redundancy. Now, wordiness, on the other hand, is when we make a sentence or a paragraph longer and more complex than it needs to be in order to convey the intended meaning. And this is something that we sometimes do really well intentionally, because sometimes we try to make it look like we have written more than we actually have written, right? And when we do that, we add unnecessary words into something. But one of the key ideas in really strong writing is the simpler you can make it, the better. So if you can convey your idea accurately in 4 words, do it in 4 words, not in 5. Now, that being said, some ideas are rather complex. And so sometimes when we are describing a complex idea, we need to use more words in order to make sure that we are conveying our message accurately. But when we can write simply, we should write simply. There's no need to make things more complex than they need to be. And that's just a general writing tip, but it's also important grammatically. Redundancy and wordiness are oftentimes considered grammatical mistakes as well. And so I want to show you a couple of examples so you can see what this looks like. Here's our first example. Allison took me to a party that was a very fun time. Now, this is an example of wordiness. That top sentence doesn't need all of those words that it has. We could simplify that down into Allison took me to a very fun party. We can just add the fun party part right into the sentence so that we don't have to a party that was a very fun time. We could just describe the party as very fun. Additionally, here's another example. I enjoy getting my nourishment by way of fried foods. This is way more complex than it needs to be. There's nothing wrong with the top sentence, but we could just say, I enjoy eating fried food. So if we want to say that, let's just be simple. Let's get right to the point. Let's just say it that way. Now, here's another example. And in this example, what you can see is we have repeated an idea. So this is an example of redundancy. She worked for 30 years as a teacher and librarian in the field of education in Baltimore public schools. Now, if we look at this sentence, public schools, teacher, librarian, all of those are clues that she works in education. Therefore, our reader is going to understand that she works in the field of education, even if we don't say it, which makes that underlined portion of the sentence unnecessary. And so we could get rid of it. Now, I'm going to leave you with a quote from William Zinsser. William Zinsser is an expert on writing and how to write well. He actually wrote a famous book that's called On Writing Well. And one of the things that he says in his book is that simpler is always better. Writing improves in direct ratio to the number of things we can keep out of it. Clutter is the enemy. So when you write, make sure to avoid clutter. And additionally, if you are taking the ACT, the SAT tests, it is important to know that many times they will ask you questions where nothing in the question is grammatically incorrect, but they're looking for simplicity. Do you know how to simplify a sentence? Because clutter is the enemy. So they are going to test you on your ability to eliminate wordiness and redundancy. But more importantly, strong writing is always simple. It's always clear. So keep the clutter out. Thanks for watching.